you ready for a second lesson on hieroglyphs? Well, here we go. Today we will look at how the ancient Egyptian writing system works. You would have guessed by now that it's much more complicated than ours, because first of all, ancient Egyptians used drawings instead of letters, and as a result, they had many different drawings. During Tutankhamun's reign, there were about 500 of them, and at the time of the famous Queen Cleopatra, there were more than 7,000. To make sense of them, ancient Egyptians set up a complex system that organized hieroglyphs into three groups. The first and most important group is the sound group. Many hieroglyphs represented either 1, 2 or 3 sounds, and in some rare cases, 4 sounds. With our alphabet today, every letter has its own sound, and when several letters are put together, they create new sounds such as ch by pairing T with C, S and H. In ancient Egyptian, there are hieroglyphs that match sounds found in our alphabet, but there are also hieroglyphs that match 2, 3 and once in a while 4 sounds. And ancient Egyptians had a weird bit. Even though they pronounced the E in most of their words, they did not write it. It may seem strange at first, but you will quickly get used to it. Just slip a vowel between each consonant and it's done. Let's start with a few examples of hieroglyphs that match a sound. The reed is pronounced Y. The O is pronounced M. The reed mat is pronounced P. But be careful, not every hieroglyph has a matching letter in our alphabet. For example, ancient Egyptians did not have some sounds such as L, V, W and Z. And in the same way, there were some sounds used in ancient Egyptian that we don't have in ours, such as sh, which makes us put together S and H to create the sound. There are also hieroglyphs that combine 2 letters to create a single sound. For example, the sign that represents the scribal palette and tube case containing written reeds is read as sesh. It corresponds to 2 sounds S and sh. Don't forget, we are supposed to add an E between each consonant to pronounce the word more easily. So to write a word with the sesh sound, ancient Egyptians had 2 choices. Either they wrote the sign depicting the scribe's equipment, or they wrote both hieroglyphs representing S plus sh to obtain the same sound. The sign for a house is pronounced per. Again, it corresponds to the sounds P plus R with an E added between them. Like the previous example, to write a word that contained the per sound, ancient Egyptians could choose between writing the sign depicting a house or the hieroglyphs for P and R to produce the same sound. As for the swallow, its hieroglyph is pronounced ur. That means it corresponds to the sounds W plus R. You will see a pattern here. If someone needed to write a word that contained the ur sound, they could either write the sign of a swallow or the same sound into hieroglyphs. In this case, they wrote the sign for a quail chick to get the W sound and an open mouth for the R sound. There are also hieroglyphs that correspond to 3 sounds, such as the scepter Eka that the pharaoh holds in his hand to show his power. It corresponds to the sounds H plus Q plus A. In the same way, the star Seba in ancient Egyptian corresponds to the sounds S plus B plus A. Of course, the idea is the same. If a Seba sound was needed to write a word, people either wrote a star or they wrote the sign for a folded cloth to make S, a leg for B, and an Egyptian vulture for A. The same thing goes for the bass sound. It can either be written with the sign of a jar containing precious ornaments that only the rich could afford, or can be broken down into 3 hieroglyphs, with the leg for the B, the Egyptian vulture for the A, and the folded cloth for the S. You get it, the same hieroglyphs but in a different order. Lastly, there are the hieroglyphs that correspond to 4 sounds, like the ear of a cow, which is pronounced messenger, the Scorpio, which is surrogate, or the B, pronounced BT. Now let's move on to our second group of hieroglyphs, which includes the signs that correspond to a word or an idea. These are drawings that allowed ancient Egyptians to identify at a glance the object that they were referring to, because the signs were simple and logical. To write the word for sky, the ancients drew a celestial vault and called it Pet. To write the word for lion, they simply depicted a lying lion and pronounced it as Ru. Some hieroglyphs took on the ambitious task of representing actions or ideas, which are abstract and generally impossible to draw. To depict the wind or a puff of air, ancient Egyptians simply drew a sail of a ship, which they pronounced Chau. To describe the idea of birth or having a baby, they drew a woman giving birth. Did you know that we also use hieroglyphs every day? Well, we do. The only difference is that our signs are modern and not Egyptian. I will give you a few examples, but after this lesson, go ahead and look for others. And you will see that they are everywhere. The arrow is a modern hieroglyph, such a simple drawing to mean go this way. But it's so much faster than writing it all out in words. Almost all road signs are also hieroglyphs, which help drivers to quickly understand information without having to read a whole message. Word flags are another great example. The purpose of a flag is to make you think of the name of a country without writing it out. Using color codes and sometimes drawings, the identity of a country is represented. There are thousands of other modern hieroglyphs. I'm sure you will have fun looking for them. So now you understand the concept of using drawings to express ideas. The last group includes hieroglyphs that scientists call determinatives. Scientists, always coming up with complicated words to explain simple things. A determinative is a silent hieroglyph that is sometimes seen at the end of names, adjectives, and verbs. Its role is to provide additional information about the word that was just written. Let's look at the first example. In ancient times, Maya was a name that could be given to both men and women. Just imagine Tutankhamun's advisor, bumping into the pharaoh and telling him, "I just saw Maya coming out of a temple." The young king would have no clue whether I was referring to his former nanny, called Maya, or his treasurer, who is kind of like his banker, as his name was also Maya. Tutankhamun would need a little bit more detail to know who his advisor actually saw, but he would have not faced this problem in writing. Because at the end of the word Maya, to show that it was a woman's name, the hieroglyph of a seated woman was added. If it had been a boy's name, the image of a seated man would just be added. If Maya had been the name of a town, the hieroglyph for a city would have been put at the end of a word. And if Maya meant bee, well, you would have seen a little bee after it. Determinative hieroglyphs, as their name implies, are there to determine, clarify the meaning of a word and give us more information without the need to make a full sentence. This is especially useful when you deal with homonyms. If I said wave, you would not immediately know what I'm talking about, because I could be referring to a wave of my hand, a wave in your hair, a wave in a stadium, or a wave at the beach. This problem does not exist in ancient Egyptian writing thanks to the determinative. Take, for example, the word uja. When it ends with the sign of a house, it means warehouse. Same hieroglyph for house is found at the end of the words relating to structures, such as a palace, temple, building, and so on. However, if the word uja is followed by the sign that represents moving legs, it means to go. Likewise, we will see this hieroglyph for verbs such as to walk, to stroll, to escape, and so on. Let's play a little game. When you see a series of words in hieroglyphs, press pause and take a pencil and paper. Then have fun trying to decode the words you see on the screen and press play when you're done. You will then see the answer. Your turn! I hope you like these games. Here are the answers. The first word, which is pronounced inpu, means Anubis. So logically, the sign of a god of mummification comes after it. Ancient Egyptians do not know him as Anubis, because that is what ancient Greeks called him. The second word is pronounced miu, and of course means cat. The third word is read as mer. It's logical that it ends with a pyramid, because it means pyramid. The last one is pronounced session and refers to a flower, specifically a lotus flower or lily, which is why these pretty flowers ends the word.